One of the consequences of being human is the pain that we all experience from time to time. Living in the 21st century grants us the luxury of having access to loads of effective treatments for physical ailments, but most mental illness is incredibly tricky to treat. Sure, we have different types of medicines and treatments, but a lot of it varies drastically from person to person. For this reason, offering someone a magic bullet cure for anything and everything is sure to grab the attention of those who are desperate. These esoteric pseudoscientific treatments have existed basically forever, but today we are focusing on one that has become more common and easily accessible due to the internet. Subliminal messaging. This, on the surface, might seem like a harmless way to spread positive vibes, but there are some dark corners of this community that are so sickening, I believe YouTube should really be taking action immediately. I'm sure most of you are familiar with what subliminal messaging is. It is essentially the process of relaying a message to someone that is imperceptible to their conscious mind, but just subtle enough to be picked up by their subconscious mind and have some sort of influence on them. For instance, if I were to flash this Among Us picture on the screen for a frame, then a proponent of subliminal messaging would say that you might be feeling very sussy right now for some reason. These messages aren't just visual, but can be auditory as well. Sometimes they take the form of a reversed message being put into a song, or perhaps a message that is lowered to a frequency just beneath you being able to consciously hear. It is said that subjecting someone to enough of these messages could subconsciously create a big impact on their behavior. Because of this, a lot of people look to these as a way to treat their mental health issues. On YouTube, there's a community of people that create and release subliminals that have affirmations in them that will give the listener whatever effect they desire. Most of these are for things like being more confident, happy, or motivated. Some go deeper and claim they can even cure a mental illness like depression or anxiety. The reality of it is that there is no conclusive evidence to suggest that subliminal messaging like this actually does anything to affect behavior. I read over a few studies that examine the effects of subliminals affecting people both mentally and physically. The results were underwhelming. In a 1992 study, they wanted to see if subliminal backward recorded messages in a song affected attitudes. They had 82 participants assigned to one of these 4 conditions, and through a questionnaire, concluded that there were no significant differences between the participants' attitudes. In 2001, another similar study was done to see how subliminal messages could affect self-esteem. A pre-trial self-esteem test was given to all subjects before they were randomly assigned to one of the 4 groups on screen. After several days of repeating this, they found that there was no difference between any of the groups except for the one that listened to no music at all. This would indicate that any perceived effects were just placebo. Another 2 studies I read examined the potential for subliminals causing physical effects. A 1992 study looked at the effects subliminal messaging had on weight loss when they randomly assigned female subjects to one of 3 groups. They were all weighed for 5 weeks, and the average amount of weight lost by each group was about the same. Finally, we have a 1995 study that tested to see if subliminals could cause an itching reaction in people. The participants were randomly assigned to one of these 3 groups. The study found no evidence of influence from the subliminal suggestions. In fact, the only group that even had a questionable reaction to the effects was the group that heard the message non-subliminally. I could bombard you with many more of these studies, but I think you get the point. It's safe to say subliminal messaging is not a reliable way to influence behavior, let alone cure mental illness. But it quickly becomes clear that a large amount of people in the subliminal community aren't interested in what science has to say. A lot of these subliminals offer even more outlandish stuff, like manifesting things like money, types of clothing, and social media followers. If you're wondering how this is taken seriously by anyone, it's because this community has some overlap with other metaphysical communities. Some of these subliminal videos state that the creator performed a magic ritual on it to get it to work better. So when we get deep into stuff like this, it's easy for them to dismiss what is possible in the realm of science. Now, you might be